Hey everyone, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Karen Hurd. Welcome to the Divine Healthy Living Show. I'm Karen Hurd with my co-host, Donna Martin.
Hi everyone, it's good to be here.
What we want to talk about within the Divine Healthy Living Show is pulling out of the world's healthcare system, which we have seen on full display this year. It's fickle. It requires you to spend a lot of money, and ultimately it doesn't keep you well. The world's healthcare system is really designed to keep you at some level of sick, and the way God designed your body is to be healthy, to be vibrant, so that you can go do all the things He has purposed for you in this life. That's what we want to bring to you every week on the Divine Healthy Living Show. Today we're going to talk about energy. It's probably one of the biggest complaints that we get. Donna, you are a certified certified nutrition specialist and a personal trainer. How many people complain to you about energy?
A lot. Almost everyone I know complain about being tired and needing to make changes, but don't quite know what to do and how to go about it. So yeah, it's a lot of people out there.
It is a lot of people. So what we're going to talk about is the basis of energy is your metabolism. So today we're going to talk about what your metabolism does for you in your body, how did God design it to work, some ways, some things that impact a slow metabolism, a couple of things that you can do. This is actually going to be a two-parter. And then next week, we're going to go a little bit more into the practical tips on what you can do to naturally boost your metabolism. So what metabolism does is it changes the food you eat. So it takes that input. All my computer friends are going, I know what an input is. It takes all the food that you eat and everything that your body does, from breathing, digestion, immune system, all of that, and it converts it into energy in order to make all that happen for you. Donna, what's resting metabolism? I think, isn't that part of BMI?
Yeah, it's actually called RMR. And what it is basically the way your body burns calories while it's at rest.
Okay, so how many calories? So a lot of times we'll look at how many calories we need for the day. And there's usually a baseline of calories. Would that be the calories of metabolism at rest number?
Yes.
How many calories does the average person build? Is there a way to think about that?
It all depends on their activity level, their body frame, their age, their genetics. There's a lot of factors that are involved. The more active you are, the more your body's going to burn more calories at rest. The less active you are, you're going to have a smaller number. And so that's why it's important to learn how to be active, because it does speed up your resting metabolism.
Okay, in a natural way, in a way that's healthy, in a way that God designed it to move. Isn't it interesting that God designed it periods of activity and periods of rest in everything?
Yep.
Right? So metabolism, so that's what your resting metabolism is. And some things authentically, everybody's complains, oh, I've got a slow metabolism, that's why I can't get rid of weight. Maybe there's a lot of factors to weight loss. We've done a couple other shows on that. If you are on our podcast, if you subscribe to the podcast, Divine Healthy Living Show, that'll come up in your podcast player. So make sure that you subscribe to the show. But some things that really do slow down your metabolism: low thyroid. It's almost chronic, but I think a lot of that is actually tied to adrenal fatigue and exhaustion. That's been called the 21st century silent epidemic. Those are connected. Polycystic ovarian syndrome. All right. One of the hallmarks of that can be like back acne, but it's painful periods. There's a lot that goes on with that. There's a blood sugar connection with polycystic ovarian syndrome that can be part of low metabolism. Cushing's disease, which has to do with your adrenals. And if you're at Cushing's disease, you are showing up on a diagnostic grid at your doctor's office. And then skipping meals, too low calories. And then Donna just mentioned your age. Donna, let's start with skipping, because you and I were talking about this before we went on today. Skipping calories skipping meals, too low calories, how does that negatively impact my metabolism?
Because it tells your body learns to live off of what it's fed. And so when you don't eat, your body learns to respond to that. And when your body gets too low in energy, you're putting it into a crisis mode, and you're actually telling it, I don't need this many calories in order to burn efficiently. So I'm just going to shut down, and I'm going to slow down considerably. Well, then what happens is then when you begin eating more calories again, your body recognizes that, oh, wait a minute, the famine is now over. And so it's going to gobble up every ounce of calorie that it's taking in, and it's going to store it. So instead of burning it, it's going to store it. And that's what makes people, when they say, when you chronically go too low in your calories, like when you chronically diet, that's why they say you actually gain weight and more. It's because your body is storing up, because it's protecting itself from being in starvation mode again. So that's why it's important to have consistency in your eating plan.
See, that's what's amazing to me, how God designed it. God designed your body to be smart.
Yep.
In knowing what it's being allocated, and how you eat is telling it what it's getting, right? But we can do a whole show, probably will, on all the diet crises people throw themselves into. There's a whole lot of dieting things out there. And I think some of those are a response to the world's food system, right? I mean, the world is now they're talking synthetic meat. I mean, that's insane. So, but they're talking about, we've got all these ways that try to create that crisis in your body to break through. And what you're really doing is working against the way God designed your body to function. And you can a lot of times get a short-term result, but long-term, you're looking at health problems. And long-term, you're looking at a body that doesn't really know what to do, doesn't know how to function anymore.
Right.
The way God designed it. So you end up being trapped in some of those cycles. So that's why we are not talking about chronic dieting. There is a way to eat and to help achieve a healthy weight that's sustainable, which means you get off that yo-yo track. All right. Because you can maintain a healthy weight for life.
And it's also important too to learn how to not fall into the fad diet traps.
Oh man.
Because there's so many of them out there, and we follow them because they're the new trend and they seem to work. And it's really important to be very educated before you make those decisions on what you're going to do with your eating habits.
Well, why do those diets seem to work? I mean, sometimes they're pretty crazy. Why do they seem to work?
Because anything that goes away from what you're currently doing, your body's going to respond to it for a short time. So I read an article one time that said you can go on an ice cream diet and your body's going to respond to it. But it's going to be temporary. And then after a while, it's going to plateau and it's going to change. And you're going to slow down, and then you're going to realize that it's not working again. And so then you're going to go on to something else. And if people could learn to eat healthfully and within God's system and how he's designed us, then a lot of people would find that their health just naturally happens. Their energy levels naturally happen, and their weight naturally falls into place for how their body's designed, not anything else. And anything else that comes along that we can chase in our world system today, intermittent fasting, keto, what's the paleo, all these different ways of doing it. God has a specific plan for each and every one of us. And if we would learn what's right for our body, we'd be a lot better off.
Well, I do want to talk about that a little bit. You and I were just talking about intermittent fasting before we went on the air. And one of the things, though, I will say, food allergies. I need to add that in there.
Yes.
I have, let me write that down. Food allergies, digestive trouble, because if you have an allergy to a food, or there's not perhaps what a doctor would call a clinical allergy, but an example is lectins, which is a naturally occurring compound in food. And some people, their bodies do not respond well. Other people, it doesn't bother them at all. So we also want to stay out of this one size fits all thing.
Right.
But sometimes, if you are eating a food that your body is not processing well, it may not be a good food for you. I have it as somebody that I know that couldn't eat white potatoes. Whenever this person ate white potatoes, they'd be drowsy and sleepy. Pulled that out of their diet and they were fine. So whatever it was in white potatoes, this person could not eat. White potatoes don't bother me at all. So that's one of the things that we do have to be aware of. So I think some of that trial and error you're talking about is trying to identify that. And that's part of the crazy making. So I think we're going to come back and do another show on how to do that trial and error process that's informative and healthy. That would be like a service to mankind.
Yes.
So one of the things to know in burning more calories is your mitochondria. And your mitochondria, an organelle, okay, now we're going to do a little bit of biochemistry, right? This is my cell, right? So those of you who are listening, you can't see that I'm putting my two hands together like a circle. Your cells have inside of them their own system. Your cells have their own system. Their cells are part of your body system, but inside each cell, it has its own system. And it has its own little organs, if you will, inside each cell. And those are called organelles. And one of those is called mitochondria. Mitochondria is absolutely key to your metabolism, because if they're not working, you might be in heaven. Okay? And I mean literally in heaven, not like you're happy, okay? Because mitochondria are key to life. Donna, how do the mitochondria function? What is ATP?
Adenosine triphosphate. And your mitochondria, they're the power.
Does he notice how I made her say it, not me?
Yeah.
Okay. So so say it again. It's
adenosine
ATP is
triphosphate.
And what is it?
Basically, it is that's what fuels your body. Adenosine triphosphate. It goes through a process of cellular metabolism. It's a very long, complicated process. And but what it does is the mitochondria makes your adenosine triphosphate, which fuels your muscles. It fuels your body for energy. It takes your calories.
So if we can't make sufficient amounts, if our mitochondria doesn't make enough of the ATP, then we don't have enough energy to get through the day.
No.
So it's fun. So it is like a
metabolism. Yeah.
Pardon?
I said, if you were a lamp, it would be like unplugging yourself from the wall.
Okay. All right. So building more mitochondria, and go on.
It's your power source to your body, basically.
Okay, it's your power source to your body. And there is a disease, a mitochondrial disease, that if you have it, it's terminal. So it will absolutely impact your life in the negative to not have enough mitochondria. By the way, we have a polyphenol blend that she and I work with that actually helps your body increase the number of mitochondria in your body. And it was proven to do that. It's foundational to life. And so you want happy mitochondria. It's part of your metabolic rate. So let's talk for a little bit about a few things we can do right away to increase our metabolic rate, to work with our bodies the way God designed our bodies. We all have some unique things, right? But there's some basic things all of us can do that are universal. Donna, what would you say is the number one thing? You mentioned it earlier about dieting, that people can do to increase their metabolism.
Well, you have to find out what works for your body. And one of the biggest things is to stop dieting, to stop skipping meals, and to find what works for your body. Because there are some people out there who can eat small snacks all day long and don't really like to sit down to 3 square meals. There are other people that work completely off of 3 square meals and no snacking. But you have to find what works for you, because everybody is unique and different. And if you can find the key to that, that's going to really help you considerably. And it's going to deliver just the right amount of energy that you need to get through the day and keep your body healthy and strong. And also to give your body enough energy to exercise. See, we lack right now. A lot of people are going through this time where they even lack the energy to exercise. And what they don't realize is that exercise also helps your mitochondria, and it actually gives you more energy to get through the day.
Okay, so, and I will say, if you do have adrenal fatigue or exhaustion, this is not a medical diagnosis. This is for educational purposes only. Exercise will not be something you can do.
No.
In fact, hard exercise for somebody with adrenal exhaustion or fatigue can actually set them back. So exercise can really just be standing instead of sitting, parking a few parking spaces further from the store, the door there, so that you walk. If you could go up a flight of stairs instead of taking the elevator to the first floor, doing that, even just incrementally increasing your physical movement. So if you've got low energy to exercise, start even with a 10 or 15 minute walk once a day. And back in the day, it used to be called doing the constitutional. Your morning constitutional was to go for your walk, meaning the constitution of your health. What about water? Water's huge for metabolism. And the minute we put it over a coffee bean, it's not water. I love coffee. Coffee's fine. As I take my living proof cup here. Coffee's fine. Okay, it's fine in moderation. I'm not an anti-caffeine person. But we need to have water. Water can increase your metabolism. How much water should we drink every day, Donna?
Well, it used to be thought that 8 ounces, 8 glasses of 8 ounces a day is sufficient. But you actually need to calculate it based on your weight and also, once again, your activity level and your age. Because as you age, your cells don't hold moisture as well, and you tend to need a little bit more water. Also, it also depends on the season, because in the heat, your body needs more water. So it just depends, but basic rule of thumb is 8 8-ounce glasses a day. That's the safety net. Never go over a gallon a day, because it's also goes the other way, and it can work against your body by producing an effect called hypernatremia, which overhydrates your electrolytes, and it can actually cause a medical emergency. So
I've seen people do that. We've seen I've seen water challenges where people are going for a gallon a day, which really is too much.
It is.
Unless now if you're working out, let me adjust that. If you're 6'5", you're working out in the sun, in the heat, it's summertime. A gallon a day is probably you might be drinking more than that because your body's using it. But the gallon a day is a little too much. Cutting back on refined sugary foods. I know that you might be saying, well, that's not rocket science. Right. But clearly when we go to the grocery store, we see that Americans still eat a lot of them, or they wouldn't sell them.
Yep.
You can tell what Americans are eating by what's sold in the grocery store. That's too much retail space.
Right in front of the grocery store. Right when you walk in. I said right in front of the grocery store, right when you walk in. Here it is.
Right when you walk in. So cutting back. There can be some food addiction issues around that. We've done a talk in our Leaner for Life series on food addiction that's created by design. But cutting back on the sugary foods, the refined process. So sugary doesn't just mean cookies, cakes. And I believe you can have those once in a while. Some people can't. Many people can on a limited basis once you've established a good overall healthy eating pattern. But it turns to sugar too quickly in your body. So go back towards the whole grains.
Yep.
Foods with color versus white foods. Okay, so brown rice versus white rice, right? Whole wheat bread versus rye bread versus white bread. Even homemade, I always throw in a little bit of whole wheat, little extra protein powder in my bread when I make it. And you want to increase muscle. That's Donna's expertise. So if you want some expertise on increasing your muscle, reach out to us and we'll get you in touch with Donna. But muscle is metabolism. Part of that diet yo-yo you mentioned is when we lose a lot of weight, our body's got to get that nutrition for that resting metabolism somewhere. And if you're cutting back your calories too far, your body will literally burn muscle over fat. It needs the protein in the muscle. Your fat cells don't have any protein.
Right.
So it's tearing down muscle. And Donna, what's the effect of your body tearing down its own muscle? By the way, your heart's a muscle. Ladies, your uterus is a muscle. All right. So Donna, what's in that effect of tearing down muscle to maintain body weight when you're
tearing down the muscle is called catabolism, And basically you lose muscle. And what happens is you look a little flabby, you look a little wrinkly. Women, we hate this little bat wing look underneath our arms. It's just, and then your body doesn't burn fat efficiently. And so that's a huge thing. Muscle takes heat in order to maintain itself, it takes calories, and therefore it also helps burn fat. And so when you lose your muscle, you're less efficient in burning fat.
Right.
Not
So
to mention
movement.
you don't feel good.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So not only do you not look good, you look a little bit soft. And by the way, that we have a whole program that we talk about that burns more calories by building lean muscle. You can do it with some of the food choices that you make. You can do it also, obviously, through working out, resistance, strength, moving. And last but not least, sleep. Sleep. We are chronically sleep deprived in our world today. 6 hours might be enough for some, but it's not enough for most. It's really between 7 to 8.5 hours.
I actually heard between 7 and 9 hours.
Yep. 7 to 9 hours. I've heard that too. And these little devices, I'm holding up my phone for those of you on the podcast. Now I have glasses that have got blue light on them. That's why they look a little bit dark. And that's because I'm on screen. I do a lot on my computer, so it protects my eyes from the blue light. You really want to turn off your screens at least, if you can, an hour before bed. I do not have, my phone is nowhere near my bed, so I am not getting notifications. I'm not having, it was kind of funny one night. I wasn't sleeping well, and I saw flashes, and I thought, oh my gosh, is this an angelic visitation? And it was the notifications on my husband's cell phone flashing.
That is so funny.
It wasn't an angelic visitation. It was a notification.
Well, also, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I was just going to say, and not to mention a whole bit about them monitoring your every move. The AIs really are listening on your phone. So keep the phone not in your bedroom. Try not to have a TV in your bedroom, and cut off screen time at least an hour before sleep. If you're trying to withdraw from that, because there really is an addictive capability there with the dopamine hits and all that jazz, then fine, 10 minutes before you go to bed. And work up to 20 minutes before you go to bed, up to that hour. You will find you won't need to check, and you can start reading a paper book. Yes, a book made of paper. You can actually read your Bible, read a devotional, read something, and just start to begin working towards rest. Donna, you were going to say.
I was just going to mention the TV thing, because a lot of people have a TV in their room, and a lot of times they fall asleep to it. But what it does is it robs you of deep REM sleep. And so you want to be really careful about having a TV in your room.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that deep REM sleep, that dreaming, sometimes the Lord does speak through a dream. He absolutely does. But sometimes it's your brain just processing images. Your body detoxifies while you sleep. Sleep is actually an active form of rest that your body does.
It's a complete reset.
Pardon?
It's a complete reset.
It is a complete reset. And it's extremely important to manage appetite for health and detoxification, brain detoxification in terms of, again, those dreams. Your brain is processing, it's sorting, it's purging, it's building, it's retaining, all while you sleep. Get your sleep if you're serious about your metabolism. So those are a few ways that you can. We can't ever make a donut act like celery. Right? Celery and lettuce are actually negative calories.
I wish we could.
We wish we could, right?
Try rolling celery and powdered sugar. See what happens.
That's right. And there are foods that do have negative calories. Celery is one of those, and lettuce is another, because it takes more calories to burn, which is why back in the old days it was diet food. Celery was big on diet food. So today we talked about, we need to wrap up, let you guys go. We talked about what your metabolism is, what it does, your resting metabolism, the actual clinical things that will slow it down, and some of the very basic things. And again, they weren't sexy in terms of, you're not going to find a whole lot of, you go on the internet and you got 18,000 different or 18 million different competing ideas for your time, because they're all fighting for ad space and attention. But if you can stick to some basic health principles for the way God designed your body, you are going to find that you're healthier. And give it some time. Donna, how long should let's say somebody starts drinking more water and maybe they're working on getting more sleep. So let's just pick those two things. When might they start seeing a difference in their body, especially because they've had disrupted sleep cycles for a long time?
It all depends on the severity of it, but I would say overall, probably about 3 weeks to a month.
Okay. So, wow, 3 weeks to a month before they start seeing.
I would think so, yeah. I mean, like I said, it all depends on how severe. But, studies have proven that you can't make up sleep. You can't, how people say, I'm going to go to bed early and make up for lost sleep. You really can't, but what you can do is start fresh by making a commitment to getting adequate rest. And over time, you will see a big change. So any habit takes bare minimum of a month to really see a difference and to really make it part of a lifestyle.
Okay, great. And I'm a month, guys, a month.
30 days.
And pardon?
30 days.
30 days. 30 days. That's why a lot of our challenges are 30 days, by the way, because we're hoping to build the foundations of a habit. And it actually takes a little bit longer. And if you start small, here's the other thing. I'll do another show on habits because I know we need to go. But the good news. So let's say you even start, like I have a glass of water right by my bed. I sit up and I pound down that first glass. Okay, I've detoxified my body while sleeping. That glass of water helps hydrate me because I haven't had any for a while, right? Several hours while I was sleeping.
Yeah.
It hydrates me, kickstart metabolism a little bit.
Yeah.
And it helps my body flush out toxins that it was trying to get rid of while I was sleeping. So even if you just start with a glass of water on your nightstand, first thing in the morning, or you stumble into the kitchen and before you grab the coffee that my husband made, drink the glass of water first thing. Do that every day for a month. You will start to see changes, and we can talk about journaling them. There's so much that we're going to be sharing with you on Divine Healthy Living, but we need to go. We need to let you go. So we hope that we have blessed you today. We want you to go forth in good health, knowing that God has a purpose for you. Each day is a gift. And from our heart to your heart, we want you to walk and to live in the shalom of the Lord, which is shalom is a beautiful word, and it means fullness of health, prosperity, and well-being originating from God to you. So go forth in the shalom of God. Live in God's system, not the world system. You're going to be better off in many ways. Make sure that you're liking the show. Please feel free to share it. And make sure that if you're listening to us on podcast, that you subscribe. We'll be back next week with a little bit more practical tips on metabolism, how to make it healthy, and rebuilding that foundation for health. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.